Now let us discuss about another important concept called entities in XML file. What exactly is entities? Entities in XML have similar kind of role as variables in other programming languages. It is similar, not exactly same. So that's why I use the word similar. In Java, in C++, in Visual Basic, you declare a variable, you declare a value, and then you use that variable at different point in your program to use that value of that variable, right? Similar thing can be done in XML as well. And here is one example. So I have declared one entity called intro. This is a kind of your variable, and this is the value of that variable. Okay. Now once I have declared those two, I can use this intro here like this. Now inside email, instead of typing the whole thing, hello, my name is Ramesh and I am a software developer, you can just declare it once, and you can use that variable intro at number of places or even in another XML file and use it. You don't have to do that. So that brings the question that what is the use of entities? What are the use cases? Where I will use it? How I will use it? So let us see a few examples. Entities are great for many situations. First, when you use something a lot repeatedly. So if something is getting repeated over 200 XML files or in the same XML file 20 times, like default introduction or a signature or a copyright or some company's stock price, anything like that, if it is declared in an XML file, and generally people don't work with one or two XML files, they will have 50 to 100 to 200 XML file. You should have declare a entity and use that at all the places so that if ever you want to change it, first thing is that you don't have to type it at so many places and write the whole thing and fearful that did I copy that same dollar value? Did I copy the same text in all the files? So that fear goes away. The second most important thing is that in case something is going to change very often, let us assume that I want to put somewhere a value of dollar value for €1, and that is in 200 documents. And I'm trying to explain this part. Now, if dollar equivalent of €1 is in 100 XML files, and today you created those 100 XML files and very nicely you put the actual value in all those 100 XML files, and after 10 days that value changed because this currencies keep fluctuating. Now, how do you take care of it? Are you going to change again that whatever $40 or $70 is there in all 100 XML documents? No, you shouldn't do that. What you should do is that you should declare an entity and keep the value at just one place in one XML file and refer that variable in all 100. So whenever the change happens, you have to change in only one XML file. Okay, so whenever there is something which changes very often, you should use entity. Something which is repeated at a lot of places, you should use entity. There is a third and most important usage of entity, and that is called special characters. I have already told you that inside between the tags as a character data, you are not supposed to use few characters like this, ampersand. So these are called special characters. You should not use it. Now what XML has done is that it has predefined some standard variables with values. What that does is that if I want to use less than, greater than, or ampersand, that kind of character as a data in my XML, then I can use those predefined variables. And they are nothing but also called predefined entity. So they are also another use case where entities are used quite often. Now we'll go in deep inside each of these entities and see that how to categorize this entity and understand. So basically there are three ways to look into entity. There are three types of entities in XML file. One is called general, other is called parameter, and third is called predefined. What is general? It is very simple. It is just a variable used in XML file as data. This one is also a variable. This is also a variable, but used only in DTDs. What is DTD? We'll just talk about little later, so just hang on to this. This third one is the spatial or no. These are predefined variables for special characters. Predefined variable for special characters like this, this, and this. Okay. Now we will go into each one of them one by one and try to understand what are the entities, what is so important about general entities, what is so important about parameter entities, what is so important about predefined entities. So let us first look into general entities. Entities that can appear anywhere in an XML document, and general entities can be categorized further into two types, internal and external. What does it mean? Internal and external means these entity exists in the document where they were declared. So basically wherever you declare and you use it in the same XML document, then that is called internal general entity. But if that entity has been defined at some website or some other XML file and you are referring to another XML file, then it is called external entity. And one of the example we have seen earlier also, like intro and something. Here is another example of entity. This is entity called address. This is a general entity. And that external entity could be a system or public identifier, and that is pretty much what are the various types of general entities. Now let us look into parameter entities. Parameter entities have been created only to differentiate between variables which have been declared to use it inside a DTD or XML. Now the only thing you have to remember is that parameter entity is used when entities and entity references are required to appear only in the DTD, and they use something very important called percentage. This was not in general, not used for general entity. So that kinds of clarify that this entity is for use in DTD or for use in XML. If it is percent is there, then it is for DTD, otherwise it is for XML data. What is predefined entities? As I mentioned earlier, for less than, greater than, ampersand and all, these are predefined variables or entities. Predefined entities for special characters Okay. So what happens if I want to write it in my system, something like this, book XML and HTML. This is the data, character data, okay? And I am closing this. Will it work? No, it will not work. Why it will not work? Because ampersand is not allowed like that. So this will not work. We have to use a predefined entity and write the same tag like this. Now this will work fine, because the special characters cannot be put just on their own. It has to be ampersand amp semicolon, because the moment you put this character, it assumes that this is one word. This means ampersand. So that is the predefined entity. So we have understood about what are the various types of entities in XML file. What is general entity? What is parameter entity? What is predefined entity? So let me just review it once more. These are the types of entities: general, parameter, and predefined. Then these are the entities called general entities, have these things special about them. They are of two types: internal, external, and there is a address one is an example. And parameter entities are one which are used in the DTD, and it is how do you indicate that this entity is for DTD? By using the percent sign, which is not used for general entity. And then there are predefined entities for special characters, so that you can use. Now we'll look into doc type declaration. What is doc type declaration? Doc type declaration is basically you can declare that what kind of a document is this, and you can give some name, my doc. It is up to you, whatever you want to give. And then whatever this you are putting here, this my doc is basically used here. And what it means is that I want that in this my doc, these are the entities which will be used, and you can declare all your entities inside that. So doc type is a declaration where you mention that this is the document type, and inside that I will be using these kinds of entities. So let us take one example. The example is that we have an XML declaration, very easy. And then we have a doc type declaration called customer, and that customer will have two different kind of entities. So what it says is that inside customer element, these are the two different entity which I will be using. So doc type is a declaration, and then we'll define two entities for that document type, and then we'll use that in our here. So here is the root node, as we know that the first one, and this is the details of the customer node. So that is what it says, that I'm going to declare a doc type customer, and then the customer node is my root node. And here I am using those entities, second floor here. Okay. So that's pretty much what is doc type. Now we'll going into well-formed and valid XML documents. So that will be the next section, and we'll take a break here. So last one was doc type declaration.